Hello, everyone. My name is Danny. This review is for the movie called Lizzie. Lizzie is a psychological thriller that reveals many layers of the strange and fragile Lizzie Borden, who stood accused of the infamous 1892 axe murder of her family in Fall River, Massachusetts. An unmarried woman of 32 and a social outcast, Lizzie lives a claustrophobic life under her father's cold and domineering control. When Bridget Sullivan, a young maid, comes to work for the family, Lizzie finds a sympathetic kindred spirit, and a secret intimacy soon blossoms into a wicked plan. This is a 2018 film. It is rated R. It runs 105 minutes, and it stars Chloe Sevigny, Kristen Stewart, Jamie Sheridan, Fiona Shaw, Kim Dickens, Dennis O'Hare, and Jeff Perry. Lizzie. Well, I knew nothing about this film. It came across my list, and I see the front cover, and I'm like, sweet, death, guts, blood, all right. And of the 105 minutes of this movie, there's blood in maybe 20 of it. And I was like, oh, well, dang it. So what happens when a movie's like that? You have to hope it's really interesting along the way, right? Like it actually has a storyline and it's kind of interesting. And, you can't hope for, you can't really say you're happy with a movie when it's only exciting for 20 minutes. So, yeah, this takes place a long time ago. Supposedly, it's kind of a famous killing, the Lizzie Borden murder. And I have heard that name, but I don't know if anybody really needed to make a movie about it. But yeah, these girls are good. They're both pros. Kristen Stewart's famous, and Chloe Sevigny is really good in this. Plays a lot of good facial things, and she has seizures as part of Lizzie, and she plays that obviously out well. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine these movies because people are taking like our culture from nowadays and putting it back in 1892. Like I heard Kristen Stewart say thanks. Like, did they say thanks back then, or did they say thank you all the time? You just kind of gotta wonder. And if everything is appropriate with the timeline and people are acting in the way that people would back then, and then we're turning this into a psychological thriller. So, are people appropriately, afraid when the stuff starts hitting the fan? I mean, you're just kind of wondering if they're playing it off right for the time period. And that's kind of what it comes down to. So, yeah, I think that the way they do it in the beginning, where they kind of show what happened and then they go 6 months earlier, is like any normal movie. A lot of movies do that. And as they get towards the end, they start kind of revealing pieces of what happened to you, so they don't give it all away at once. And that's really smart anytime that's ever done in any movie. So I think that even though this is of an older time period and it's maybe of a little bit more of a simple plot line and a murder, that they really handle it well. I mean, whoever made this movie, they made it. They knew what they were doing, and it was handled appropriately and handled, how they don't give it all away at once, and so it's very interesting that way. The funny thing that kept coming up, and I thought, well, are they staying true to the timeline, or are they just really bad writers? I think it came up about 4 or 5 times, something in the way of, well, we've already previously discussed this, as we've previously discussed, and to sound proper and everything for old time Massachusetts people. It just kept being said, and I'm like, did these people not realize that they've talked to each other before? Like, did everybody just keep forgetting what they talked to people about? I was just kind of wondering what was going on there, and I'll just chalk it up to that's how they talked back then, because it kept coming up, and I'm like, oh, this is getting a little annoying. So, other than that, this is very good last 20 minutes, and sometimes movies are just made to lead up to the big reveal, and that's kind of why everybody likes Michael Myers and why they like other movies, because there's storyline, there's talking, and then there's somebody dying. And so this movie is very much like that, and so it's worth it. It's very bloody and it's very violent at the end, and it's all worth it for the previous 85 minutes you had to watch and see stuff happen. And so it gets a little sexy and everything on parts of it, and gets very gory at the end. So I thought it was worth it. There can be some downsides to this, but I think mostly it's about the fact that it was such a long time ago, and the setting, and people just kind of sitting around talking to each other half the time. But there's a good kind of mystery and kind of some underlining storylines and everything. So I enjoyed it. I'm going to give this movie a B, and I do suggest watching it. I think it's kind of a cool movie that came up on my list, and I enjoyed it enough. So maybe why it's a B and not an A is that it did repeat itself, and it is a little slow when it's just story. Like I could see a lot of people saying, "Oh man, why am I watching an 1892 movie? Or a movie set in 1892? This is just slow and boring, and they're just talking to each other." And but there's a lot of compelling stuff along the way, and so I'd give it a try if you can find it, and give it a chance. A B for Lizzie. Thanks a lot, guys. My name's Danny. If you like this or any of my other videos, try and give some of them a watch. Like and subscribe to my channel if you would, and enjoy your movies. Thanks.